Today, Councilman Fox and I are announcing that we're going to be putting in legislation this afternoon. My legislation, co-sponsored by Councilman Fox, that will phase out the stormwater remediation fee, or as it's called in Howard County, the Watershed Protection and Restoration Fee. What we're going to be doing is eliminating it over a 2-year period. So next year, the fee will be reduced in half, and then the following year will be eliminated. As many of you know, the Chesapeake Bay is very important to all of us, whether you live in Howard County, you live in Dorchester County, or anywhere else in the state of Maryland. My family has had property in Dorchester County since the 1950s. It's probably the place I enjoy going to more than anywhere else other than my home right now. And I want to make sure it's there for my children and everybody else's children. And so I don't want anyone to take this legislation as any less of a commitment of Howard County to making sure that we meet our requirements to do what we can to preserve and protect our Chesapeake Bay. What's in dispute is how we fund it. Now, in 2013, when I was in the state legislature, along with Delegate Bates at the time, Howard County, the state required Howard County to create the Watershed Protection and Restoration Fee. I felt then, as I still do now, that creating another tax or fee was unnecessary, excessive, and a burden on working families and small businesses. And it was obvious that many residents of Maryland felt the same way. And so earlier this year, the state legislature passed and Governor Hogan signed a bill repealing the mandate on local governments. While the mandate was repealed, the requirement to fund it was not. So we still had to figure out ways in which to do that. Last year, I asked our Spending Affordability Advisory Committee to look into this, and they suggested to me that we not try to eliminate it right away, that we look at it over the year, my first year in office, to see how best we could handle this, and that's what we did. I took the advice of people that I respect greatly. And so today, though, after working very hard with many people in our administration, in the Office of Community Sustainability and others, we feel this is a prudent way to go forward. So today I'd like to announce with Councilmember Fox, this is a fiscally responsible plan to phase out the Watershed Protection and Restoration Fee, also known by some as the rain tax. This plan should be in no way construed to take away from Howard County's responsibility and commitment to Chesapeake Bay. But we're also committed to providing tax relief to our citizens, especially to our small businesses and the people in the business community. As many of you may know, our residents currently pay $15 per townhouse, $45 for a lot, I think it's a quarter acre or less, and $90 for a lot larger than that. Our businesses are hit much more difficultly, and many of our businesses pay an awful lot of money, and it hurts our small businesses. I hear from a lot of people that the people who maybe own office buildings pass down the cost to their small business tenants. So this is a bill that will actually bring relief not just to residents, but to businesses, and much needed tax relief. We'll be using, well, I should say that we'll also be filing a financial assurance plan that's required by state law to show the state where we are spending the money and how we're coming up with the money. And our money will be coming from the general fund as well as the Watershed Protection and Restoration Fund. There's already some money there right now. And then in the future years, we'll be using this to use general obligation bonds to pay for the requirement of fixing this. And that's something that was in the plan all along. I've talked to people in the county government who were here before I took office, and that was the plan, to use general obligation bonds to pay for the stormwater remediation efforts. So it's not changing, it's just that we're eliminating the fee to pay for that, and we're using general fund for that. With that, I think I'll turn it over to Greg Fox, and then we can have time for some questions. Greg?
Thank you, Alan. And like Alan's ties to the Bay, I have them as well. I grew up over in Anne Arundel County, right off the Magothy River, where my parents still live. Understand, appreciate, spent a lot of time out there on the Magothy, out there on the Chesapeake Bay. And so again, this is not about not doing what we're obligated to do. But the additional question, and this is another thing that I'm hoping happens, that this is actually just the start, and potentially instead of a phase out, really over a year, because where we're at, it's really phase out after next fiscal year. But maybe that we don't even have to go there even next fiscal year as well. If we look at some of the things from a technology standpoint and how you're supposed to meet these requirements, that's also in question. A lot of the things don't really make economic sense that are set out there, and they don't take into consideration even the location of where they're being done as far as in how they're calculating the benefit to the Bay. So if you really want to do things that are cost effective, make sense, it's going to be something we're going to have to work with, the Hogan administration, work with, our representatives and others at the state level, both our state delegates and our state senators, to see if there's some other things still that could be tweaked coming up during this next session, as well as looking at nutrient trading, type of scenarios as far as being able to do that. All things that might be able to substantially reduce cost while actually increasing and having a quicker impact on the bay.
Great, thank you, Greg. And then just in closing, if we have any questions, I know one of the first questions people are going to say is, well, how in the world are you going to pay? What are we going to lose in order to remove or eliminate this fee? And I guess my response to that is you always have trade-offs. Last night out in western Howard County, we had somebody who got loose from a private ambulance who had some mental illness, and we had to locate that person, and it was not too far from my neighborhood, and we could hear the helicopter flying around. And I went to the command center that they had put up in a local church, and I listened as the helicopter was looking for this person and directing the police officers to find the person. They did. And I thought to myself after that, we have a police helicopter. Well, you can make the argument, well, we have a helicopter, at what expense? Well, there's always a trade-off. We can't have something else because we have that helicopter. Or we have a new fire station come up in Elkridge. Well, because we have that new fire station in Elkridge, we don't get to build something else. So we always have to have trade-offs. So this isn't saying that we're taking away from somebody else. We're just respecting the citizens of Howard County. I heard about it all the time during the last election cycle, during the last year, that they wanted relief from this fee tax. And so that's what we're giving it to them. And hopefully the County Council, Greg Fox's colleagues, will work with us on this and pass it. I'm anxious to have them look at it carefully, and they can look at the financial assurance plan to see how we're paying for it. And we're going to move forward. But I think this is a good day for Howard County residents and Howard County businesses.